It's a new day in the Bay. Yes, it is. 49ers have Jimmy G, but drafted Trey Lance with the number 3 overall pick in the 2021 draft. The rookie has been impressing his new teammates in camp, with tight end George Kittle saying, quote, "I think Trey has all the attributes to be a special quarterback. He takes risks. He's trying to fit into the small windows. I'm excited to see his progress throughout training camp. He's definitely in the right spots." And we welcome in Riddick. This will be the 49ers starter. Oh, I'm sorry, Monica. Who will be the 49ers starter on Week 8?
Well, we certainly do welcome in Lou. But by
Yes.
the time we
Sorry,
get to Week
the
8,
prompter kind of threw me off just now. Everything was jumbled together. Sorry about that.
all good, all good. By Week 8, I imagine that it probably will be Trey Lance. I got to say, a couple years ago, one of the questions on Twitter that sort of went viral was, what athlete do you wish had never gotten injured? And I have a soft spot for Jimmy G. I don't know that he's gotten a fair shake. When I think of him, I think of injuries more than anything else. And so I don't know he's gotten a fair shake in the Shanahan system at the quarterback position. But there's no logic behind the team moving to the third place in the draft to select Trey Lance and not putting him in. And so as someone who watched Shanahan cater and create offense as a coordinator here in D.C. when Robert Griffin III was here, I do appreciate what Kittle said in that Trey is in the right spot. And I certainly think that Shanahan will cater the system to what he believes is the best fit for him. And by Week 8, I imagine that this San Francisco 49ers squad is looking into the future and not, has moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo.
I hope Jimmy G does not get injured, but I still think he's going to be the starting quarterback by Week 8, although it can't be easy, Jimmy Garoppolo. He's like the separated husband that goes to the kid's graduation, and your ex has the next there and brought the kid to the graduation. That's what this is for Jimmy Garoppolo. And I clearly understand what the San Francisco 49ers decided to do with Trey Lance, because they're thinking, man, we can't trust Jimmy Garoppolo to stay healthy, so more than ever before, we're going to bring in a guy that fits and checks all the boxes that we need for this offense. But to bring some memory to your memory, it wasn't that long ago that this team was a bad fourth quarter and a Jimmy G missed throw from winning a Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2019 season. So we're not talking about a guy that has become a scrub or has regressed. But you mentioned, Monica, earlier, durability and availability. If you can't have both, especially the quarterback position, that's going to be a problem. He will still be the starting quarterback by Week 8 if he's not injured. I think he's going to start off 16, 17 games if he's not injured. But this is his job, playing for his job next year, not the San Francisco 49ers, when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo in his final year in San Francisco.
Yeah, I agree with you, Freddie and Monica, both. I think in this regard, I think what will have Trey in there is the fact that Jimmy's not in there because he's just not available, because he is injured. And I hate talking about it in that context, because you're almost, that's just like putting negative vibes out there about what's going to happen to Jimmy G from an availability standpoint. But just think of it this way. This is the 4th offseason that he's gone through in San Francisco. It's only the 2nd offseason, though, that he's been able to actually fully participate. And Kyle mentioned the fact that, look, he's locked in, man. He looks as good as he's ever looked. And quite honestly, he's had some of the best games of any quarterback in the NFL when he has been on it and he has been healthy and he's had his full complement of weaponry around him. So he's not going to just give this job to Trey. And I don't think Trey has enough time to really grasp everything that they're trying to do, to the point where Kyle would be like, you know what, we're going to put you in there. Now, when you get drafted number 3 overall and your head coach and the GM is talking about you the way they are, that being Trey Lance, and you're 6'4", 225 pounds, you're only 21 years old, you have one of the fastest game speeds measured by next-gen stats, of any skill position player in the NFL when you take his game speed from college and translate it to the pros. Look, it's hard to keep you off the football field, and I think they will sprinkle him in as the year goes on as much as they possibly can. But I just see Jimmy G really responding to this. He has the right DNA. He was brought up in the NFL the right way. I think he'll play some of his best football. Unfortunately, the odds are something's going to happen to him where Trey's going to have to play by Week 8, Week 9. And if he does, I think you're going to see why they drafted him number 3 overall, because having seen this kid up close, stood right next to him, talked to him, this kid's a freak now in every sense of the word. I mean, that's just nothing but compliments I'm giving him. He's a freak. And there's a reason why, that Kyle and the rest of the people in San Francisco are excited, and everyone else is going to be too when they fully unleash him on the NFL. Probably very similar to the way people were excited when Kansas City unleashed Patrick Mahomes.
So I'm glad you said that, Lou, because that was going to be my next question to you. In an ideal situation, knock, knock on wood, everybody stays healthy, would Jimmy G finish out the season and Trey would have the opportunity to just learn? Or is there, at some point in this season, whether it's health or not, do you see him moving into that starting spot?
Yeah, I think, Monica, look, I think that he'll stay the starter, as long as he stays healthy. I think Jimmy will respond to this challenge. He will be a professional because that's what he's always been. And this football team, as it's presently constructed, will be right there in contention for the NFC title and then for a Super Bowl berth. I believe that wholeheartedly. I've always been a big believer in Jimmy. And Freddie, you're right. This team was one throw away that you just see go across your screen right there to Emmanuel Sanders from basically not even allowing Kansas City to kind of launch into this dynastic we're in right now in terms of trying to stack together Super Bowl wins, because they don't even win their first one. It would have been San Francisco that was hosting the, and Jimmy G would have probably been named the MVP of that Super Bowl. So I think there's no doubt that ideally they'd like for this to be one of those situations where they have time. Because look, Trey's only 21 years old. He's going to play hopefully 10, 12, 15 years in San Francisco. There's no rush to put him in there. And if Jimmy can provide that kind of stability and allow them to take their time, just like Kansas City did. I know people say, well, look, that's not a very realistic model. But you know what? It's the ideal model. It really is, because you saw what it did for Patrick. You saw what he benefited from learning from Alex. Trey could benefit the same way. And in 2022, all hell could break loose. And that's exactly what they want.
Yeah. Speaking of all hell breaking loose, because I got this question real quick to you, Lou. The quarterback market next year, because he's going to be part of that quarterback market. What kind of teams could be in play for Jimmy G? Because every time you turn around, it seems that the quarterback position is settled with young quarterbacks for a lot of teams. The quarterback market may not be there for him next year.
Yeah, but Freddie, the quarterback market's always so fluid, as you know. And what we think are our needs today turn out to not be our needs tomorrow. And what we think aren't our needs turn out to be our needs, right? Things change so quickly at quarterback because it's such a very razor's edge type of position. So I think there's always going to be a need. I think for Jimmy, again, it sounds cliche, but controlling the controllables is what he needs to do, which is just stack some wins, man. Get 10, 11, 12, 13 wins. Get this team back to a Super Bowl. And Jimmy's mark is going to be just fine. Look, he's paid anyway. He's good anyway. He's made already. He's already accumulated generational wealth. He's not chasing money. Jimmy's good. Jimmy now is trying to really, quite honestly, if I'm Jimmy and if I'm putting myself in his shoes, he's chasing respect. Because nobody respects him, really. Everybody always says, look, he's the kind of the guy who was Tom Brady's understudy, the guy who's not quite good enough for Kyle. I mean, people get tired of hearing that kind of stuff. You know that as athletes. You get tired of being doubted.
Yeah, Jimmy G looking for that respect. And guess what? We're going to be talking about one of his old stomping grounds coming up here on First Take. Lewis, you're sticking with us because the Pats,